Welcome back to another video. My name is Roman Miller and you are on the LKV Flooring channel. Today on a simply explained video we're going to talk about skirting boards. Next time when you shop around you know exactly what to expect. In US they call them baseboards. But anyway, let's get started. And before we dig into it, small disclaimer. Today we're going to talk about flooring that we can supply and lay, which is the laminate, hybrid, engineered, solid timber floor. How we work around those floorboards and how we work with the skirting boards, baseboards. We're not going to talk about vinyl, carpet, tiles. That's completely different trade and completely different installation methods for the flooring and for the skirting boards. Let's get started. So let's pretend this is a wall. So you have your skirting boards already installed. So first thing is when we do a flooring, we have to remove it, because when you lay any of that flooring that I've told you, we need to have expansion gaps. So that's the most important bit in your flooring installation. So then you cover it with your insurances and so on and so on. So we need to leave expansion gap of your wall. So option one is we remove existing. Look at that black line here. So this is the existing line of your skirting board. So when we do take them off, we have to kind of like cut with a Stanley knife, carefully remove your skirting boards. So that way, that black line represents a damage to your wall. Then we install your flooring with the required expansion gap. Usually it's about 6, 8, 9 mil. So you can see this gap here. So this is your wall and this is your flooring. So that's how it's installed correctly. And then we do install skirting boards on top. So see, skirting boards covers the gap between your wall and the wall, and skirting board, because it sits now on top, your damage line stays behind the skirting board, and now it's covered. Now it's nice and clean, but it still needs gap filling and so on. That's option one, when we remove and reuse the existing one. Pluses for that one is less cost, because we don't have to get you a new one, and easier. Like, I mean, we just take them off, clean, and nail them back on. Option two is, again, going back to the basics. Option two, remove skirting board, install your flooring, and let's say you don't like this type of you don't like this style, or you don't like this type of skirting board. You might want to go, like, again, there's so many of them. Most of them will come primed, at least in Australia. So then you might want to have like a colonial style skirting boards. Okay, then we can, as an option two, we can remove existing, dispose, and supply you a new one and install it for you, and you have new skirting boards. Minus for that is the price, because you have to pay for the supply price and pay for us or for carpenter to cut them and install them for you. So that's time and extra labor cost. But big plus that this is a brand new skirting, and this is a very perfect final touch on your finishing product, pretty much on your floor, when you have everything lined up. Because with the old skirting boards, sometimes when they've been painted too many times, when you start putting them back on, they can crack, they look a little bit kind of bulky, and they never lined up with the especially on external corners, when we have to go around the wall and we have to put them back in. With the new skirting boards, we can miter them almost perfectly. Well, obviously this is not a miter, but I'm just showing that we just go around it. So here, like I'm just showing you. So with the new skirting boards, we can finish them much nicer. So you have a finish, but this is not much more expensive, but it does cost more. Supply and install new skirting boards. And option three, which to be honest I hate, is, let's go back to the basics. So again, you have your skirting boards and you need to install flooring. So option three is that big companies usually use. They don't like to remove skirting boards, because again, whatever option two or option one, whatever we'll do with the old skirting boards, there's a big chance that we can damage or make a hole in the wall. So big companies usually kind of are trying to protect themselves, and they don't even offer that option to you. Remove, reuse existing, or remove, dispose, and supply a new one. So they usually come up with the so-called skircher, beading. I hate that. Our company here is no for this. Who does that nowadays? Again, yeah, of course, I understand if you're on a budget, if you don't really care about the looks, if it's an investment property and you want to spend as minimum as possible, yes, go for this one. But yeah, if you're doing it for yourself and you want it done right, then obviously option 1 or option 2 is your goal. But I need to show you anyway. We keep the skirting boards on your wall. Sometimes it's sometimes it's very hard when you have a very big 100-year-old skirting boards and it's not possible to remove, and we can't supply you a new ones. Then yeah, sometimes we have to work with this one. But in most cases, skirting stays on. We install flooring with with that required expansion gap, and that's what it's for. So then you have your skircher, your kind of a timber beading, covering that gap. So see, that's how it's done. So you have your wall, you have your skirting board, we're not touching it. You have your expansion gap for flooring to expand, and then that gap is covered with the ugly beading. But that's option 3, but that's obviously a cheapest option because you don't need to paint. So going back to that option 1 and option 3, when you remove, reinstall, or option 2, remove, dispose, supply new one. So whatever we'll do with that skirting board, if we touch it, that's it. So yes, we do clean them from old gap filler. If it's an old skirting board, you have to gap fill and paint again. So in terms of cost, option 2, you just have to get the painters to gap fill on top, because again, mostly the pine skirting is they're quite straight, the actual board. So the thicker the skirting boards, the taller, the more kind of a straight it is. But your gyprock walls usually never straight. So that's a kind of a extra expense for you. If we remove, you have to get the painters to finish it off. Again, if you don't want to get anyone else involved, then obviously your skirting board stays on the wall. We finish with up to the skirting board, and then you finish with that skircher, because that comes pre-finished, so you don't need to do anything. Like, that's 100% finished. Again, that's the easiest, the cheapest way to go. Obviously, the most expensive way is to supply you a new skirting boards, and price can vary almost double, depends on the size of your skirting board. So this is a standard in Australia, 11 mil by 66. So then, like, I don't know, next step up, it will be your, again, 11 by 92, and then here you go. In Australia, we have basically, roughly speaking, two thicknesses, 11 mil and 18 mil. I just don't have the 18 mil with me, but that's the 18 mil. They're usually a lot taller. And 5 different profiles: colonial, bullnose, and so on and so on. So we do have, those always offcuts here. Just to summarize this all up, option 1 is to remove, reinstall existing. You need a painter to do this, to finish it off. Option 2, remove, dispose, supply your new skirting, either same one or whatever you prefer. Requires painter, again, painter to either you do it yourself or you get a painter, which is extra expense on top of our labor. And then option 3, if you don't really care about the looks, you just want to replace your dirty carpets with something much more nice and much more durable. You don't really want to take the skirtings off of the wall with that chance of damaging your walls and so on. You just, yeah, I'm okay with that. If you have any questions, just give us a comment below. I can answer all your questions in a separate video or in the comment section. Hit us a like so we can share this video to others. And yeah, well, I hope that helped you to understand what we do with the skirting boards. And I'll see you at the next one.